You know, I used to think that divine favor meant a life without struggle, a straight path, no bumps, no detours. But over the years, I've learned something different. I've learned that favor doesn't always look like ease. It doesn't always look like applause or success or everything falling into place exactly the way we planned. Sometimes favor looks like resilience. Sometimes favor looks like the courage to stand back up. So if you've ever wondered, am I a woman truly favored by God? Let's talk about it. Because I think you might be more blessed than you realize. Unshakable faith isn't about never feeling afraid. It's not about never having moments of doubt. It's about choosing to believe even when everything around you gives you reasons not to. A woman favored by God understands that faith is not a feeling, it's a decision. It's the quiet resolve to trust in God's timing, even when life feels like it's moving too slow. It's the courage to hold on when everything in you wants to let go. This kind of faith doesn't come from an easy life. It's forged in the waiting seasons, in the disappointments, in the prayers that felt like they went unanswered. It grows when you've stood in the middle of a storm, tears running down your face, and still whispered, God, I trust you. A woman with unshakable faith knows that life isn't always fair, but God is always faithful. She doesn't allow circumstances to dictate her belief. She allows her belief to dictate how she faces circumstances. She walks into rooms with confidence, not because she has it all figured out, but because she knows who is guiding her. She dreams big, prays boldly, and expects miracles, not because she's special, but because she understands that God is. And here's the truth. This kind of faith makes people uncomfortable. It defies logic. It refuses to bow to fear. It stands firm when everything else is shaking. But that's the beauty of being a woman favored by God. Your faith will always be your anchor, no matter what storms come your way. So if you've ever felt like you were holding onto faith with everything you had, if you've ever trusted even when it didn't make sense, know this, that is a sign of favor. That is the kind of faith that moves mountains, and that is the kind of faith that will carry you into everything God has for you. Keep believing, keep trusting. Your faith is working even when you can't see it yet. Loving is easy when it's safe, when there are guarantees, when we know we will be loved in return. But a woman favored by God, she loves beyond what is easy. She loves without fear, even when there are no promises, no safety nets, and no guarantee. This kind of love isn't just about romance or family. It's about how she moves in the world. She loves with open hands, not clenched fists. She chooses compassion over convenience. She forgives not because people deserve it, but because she knows she is forgiven. Fearless love is risky. It makes you vulnerable. It means giving even when you might not receive. It means showing up for people who may never appreciate you. It means choosing kindness when it would be easier to be indifferent. And it means loving yourself enough to set boundaries when needed. A woman who loves fearlessly understands that love is not weakness, it's strength. It takes courage to open your heart after it's been broken. It takes grace to choose love over bitterness. It takes divine favor to love a world that can be harsh, cold, and unkind. But here's the truth, love is her superpower. It's what makes her stand out. People feel it in her presence. They recognize something different about her, not because she's perfect, but because her love is genuine. It is not performative. It is not transactional. It is rooted in something deeper than this world. It is rooted in God. Fearless love is the kind of love that changes lives. It is the kind of love that Jesus embodied, sacrificial, relentless, and unwavering. A woman favored by God understands that love is her legacy. She doesn't just speak love, she lives it. So if you've ever been told you care too much, that you give too much, that you love too deeply, know this, that is not a flaw. That is a gift. That is favor. And even when love doesn't come back the way you gave it, even when it costs you something, Love anyway, because love, real love, is never wasted. It always makes an impact, it always leaves a mark, and it always comes back to you in ways you never imagine. Resilience is not just about surviving hardships, it's about emerging from them stronger, wiser, and more deeply connected to your purpose. A woman favored by God does not live a life free of struggles. In fact, favor often attracts challenges, but it also equips you with the strength to overcome them. If you look back on your journey, you will see moments that should have broken you, situations that felt impossible, seasons where you thought you wouldn't make it through, but here you are still standing. That is not by accident. That is not by coincidence. That is the hand of God over your life, turning what was meant for harm into something that built you. A resilient woman doesn't just bounce back, she rises. She learns, she transforms, she takes the pain of yesterday and uses it as fuel for her purpose. She understands that trials are not meant to destroy her, they are meant to shape her into the woman she was created to be. Resilience doesn't mean you never feel weak. It doesn't mean you never cry. It doesn't mean you never have moments of doubt or exhaustion, but it does mean that even in your weakest moments, there is a divine strength carrying you. It means that even when you fall, grace lifts you back up. It means that no weapon formed against you has been able to prosper because you are still here, still fighting, still growing. And here's the truth. The enemy wouldn't attack you so fiercely if there wasn't something powerful inside of you. The trials you faced are proof that you are a threat to darkness. The struggles you've overcome are a sign that you carry something significant. A woman favored by God doesn't avoid the fire, she walks through it and comes out refined. She doesn't let past pain define her. She uses it to empower others. She knows that resilience is not just about surviving, but about thriving in spite of everything that was meant to hold her back. So if you have ever questioned why your path has been so difficult, why you have faced so many battles, why you have had to endure so much, let me remind you, the trials were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to reveal the warrior in you. You are not weak. You are not forgotten. You are favored, strengthened, and anointed for something greater. And when you look back, you won't just see pain. You will see a story of victory. Keep going. Keep fighting. Your resilience is a testament to the favor of God over your life. A woman favored by God does not live a life of small dreams, safe decisions, and predictable paths. She feels a divine pull towards something greater, something that often challenges her, stretches her, and sometimes even scares her. This is the thing about favor. It does not come to keep you comfortable. It comes to propel you into purpose. It calls you out of the familiar, out of the easy, out of the places where you feel in control. Because the truth is, God does not anoint you for a life of mediocrity. He anoints you for a life of impact. But here's the catch. Impact is never made in comfort zones. Think about the women in history who changed the world, the ones who broke barriers, who defied expectations, who paved the way for others. None of them did it from a place of convenience. They had to step into the unknown. They had to trust God when they couldn't see the full picture. They had to take risks, face opposition, and sometimes walk alone. And that's the reality of a divine calling. It won't always feel easy. It won't always come wrapped in clarity and certainty. Sometimes it will feel like stepping off a ledge and trusting that God will either catch you or teach you how to fly. A woman with a calling bigger than comfort knows this. Favor does not always look like open doors. It sometimes looks like closed ones that force you to find another way. It does not always look like applause. It often looks like perseverance and silence. It does not always feel like confidence. It sometimes feels like trembling hands and shaky steps moving forward anyway. If you have ever felt an inner stirring, a feeling that you were meant for more, that your life has a greater purpose, Do not ignore it. That is God speaking. That is your destiny calling. And yes, it will require courage. Yes, it will require sacrifice. Yes, it will ask you to stretch beyond what feels safe. But that's because favor is not meant to keep you small. It is meant to elevate you. It is meant to take you places you never imagined, to use you in ways you never expected. A favored woman does not settle for comfort. When she was created for greatness, she embraces the discomfort of growth. She dares to step out in faith. She understands that her purpose is not just about her. It is about the lives she will touch, the impact she will make, the legacy she will leave. So if you have been feeling the call to something bigger, whether it's a new career, a bold move, a creative pursuit, or simply stepping into the woman you were meant to be, know this: it won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. Trust the process. Trust the stretching. Trust that God has already equipped you for what He has called you to do. Your purpose is greater than your comfort. Walk boldly in it. A woman favored by God doesn't quit when things get hard. She doesn't wait until she feels ready, fearless, or perfectly prepared. She simply shows up again and again, no matter what. Showing up means stepping into your life fully, even when it's messy, even when you feel unqualified, even when you're tired, uncertain, or questioning whether any of it is worth it. A favored woman knows that consistency, not perfection, is what shapes her into who she is meant to be. But let's be honest, showing up is not always easy. There are days when self-doubt whispers in your ear, when life feels overwhelming, when you'd rather hide than face the next challenge, and yet you keep going. That is not weakness, that is favor working through you. Think about the women in the Bible and history, in your own life, who made an impact. Were they perfect? No. Did they always feel confident? No. But they showed up anyway. They showed up in prayer, in faith, in action. They didn't let fear, failure, or fatigue stop them. Showing up doesn't mean you always have to be strong. It means you're willing to be present. It means you refuse to let hardship make you disappear. It means you trust that even on the days when you feel like you have nothing left to give, God will supply the strength you need. A woman favored by God understands that obedience is more powerful than feelings. She may not always feel brave, but she chooses courage. She may not always feel ready, but she chooses faith. She may not always feel like she's making progress, but she trusts that every step, every effort, every moment she shows up is planting seeds for something greater. And here's the truth. The greatest breakthroughs don't come from talent alone. They come from perseverance. They come from refusing to let discouragement win. They come from trusting that even when you don't see results immediately, your faithfulness is not in vain. God doesn't expect you to be perfect. He doesn't expect you to have it all figured out. He simply asks you to show up, to take the next step, to be available, to trust that He is working even when you can't see it. So if you're in a season where showing up feels hard, keep going, keep pushing forward, keep trusting that your efforts are seen, your faithfulness is honored, and your presence matters. A woman favored by God doesn't have to be flawless. She just has to be faithful. And that faithfulness, that's what will open doors, change lives, and lead you straight into your purpose. A woman favored by God doesn't have to announce her light. It shines naturally. It's in the way she speaks, in the way she loves, in the way she carries herself with grace, even in the face of adversity. She may not always see it in herself, but others do. Have you ever had someone tell you that your presence brings peace, that just being you makes the atmosphere feel lighter, that there's something about you they can't quite explain, but it draws them in, comforts them, or makes them feel safe? That's not an accident. That's divine favor shining through you. A favored woman carries a light that cannot be dimmed, not by hardship, not by rejection, not by the opinions of others. This light isn't just about having a joyful spirit, it's about the presence of something deeper within you. It's about the peace you bring when chaos is all around. It's about the kindness you extend when the world teaches people to be cold. It's about the quiet strength that makes others feel like they too can keep going. But let's be real, sometimes you don't feel like a light. Sometimes you feel exhausted, unseen, or like you're barely holding it together. But the thing about divine light is that it doesn't flicker based on feelings. Even in your tired moments, even in your struggles, your light is working. Your kindness, your wisdom, your faith, it's making an impact even when you don't realize it. A woman favored by God doesn't need a platform to shine. She shines in everyday moments. In the way she encourages a friend who feels like giving up, in the way she listens without judgment, in the way she forgives even when it's hard, in the way she prays even for people who have hurt her, in the way she carries hope even in seasons of waiting. Your light is your presence. It's your heart. It's the way you love, serve, and uplift others. And here's the most beautiful part. Your light is not just for you. It's a reflection of God working through you. It's meant to guide others, to bring healing, to remind people of the goodness of God. So if you've ever wondered whether you are making a difference, trust me, you are. Your presence alone is proof of that. Keep shining, keep loving, keep walking in the favor that has been placed on your life. Because when God's light is within you, no darkness can ever put it out. One of the clearest signs of God's favor is his divine protection and provision over your life. It's the moments when you look back and realize that you should have been defeated, but somehow you made it through. It's the doors that opened when you had no idea how they would. It's the times when something should have harmed you, but instead it was turned for your good. A woman favored by God walks under supernatural covering, even when she doesn't see it. You may have been in situations that should have left you broken, but grace carried you. You may have faced battles that should have overwhelmed you, but somehow you found strength. That's not luck. That's not coincidence. That is the hand of God shielding you, redirecting you, and sustaining you. Divine protection, God's protection doesn't always mean we won't face challenges. It doesn't mean that life will be free of struggles or that we'll never experience hardship. But it does mean that no weapon formed against us will prosper. Isaiah 54:17. It means that even in the storm, we are covered. Sometimes protection looks like a relationship that didn't work out because God saw what you couldn't, a delay that frustrated you, but in hindsight, was God saving you from disaster, a rejection that hurt, but later positioned you for something far greater, a mistake that could have had major consequences, but somehow grace covered you. There are things you survived that you didn't even know God protected you from. Accidents you avoided, betrayals you were spared from, paths you almost took that would have led to destruction. That is divine favor. It shields you from what was never meant for you. Divine provision, just as God protects, he also provides. A favored woman never lacks what she truly needs, even when she doesn't know how things will come together. God's provision isn't always about material blessings. Sometimes it's strength when you're weak, peace when you're anxious, and opportunities when you feel stuck. Think about the times when you didn't know how you were going to make ends meet, but somehow things worked out. You didn't know how you were going to heal, but God sent the right people to support you. You thought you lost something valuable only to be given something even better. You needed guidance, and the right words or wisdom showed up at just the right time. That's God. That's favor. That's divine provision. A woman favored by God does not have to strive or chase after blessings. She trusts that what is meant for her will always find her. She understands that her job is obedience and God's job is provision. She walks in confidence, knowing that even when she doesn't see a way, God has already made one. Final reminder, if you ever doubt whether God is protecting and providing for you, just look at your life. Look at everything you've come through. Look at the strength you've gained. Look at the ways you've been sustained. That is evidence of his favor. So even in the moments when you don't understand why things are happening the way they are, trust that God's covering is still over you. What seems like a setback may actually be protection. What feels like a loss may be making room for greater provision. You are covered, you are sustained, and you will never walk alone. One of the most powerful signs of divine favor is wisdom and discernment. A woman favored by God does not navigate life blindly. She moves with divine insight, making decisions that align with purpose rather than impulse. She is led not just by her own understanding, but by the wisdom that God places within her. Wisdom, a gift from God. Wisdom is not just intelligence, it's not just knowledge, it is the ability to see beyond the surface, to recognize what truly matters, and to make choices that bring life rather than destruction. A wise woman knows that every decision she makes is either building her up or tearing her down. She doesn't just react, seeks God first. The Bible tells us in James 1:05, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. A woman favored by God understands this. She doesn't rely solely on her emotions, opinions, or the advice of others. She goes directly to the source, praying, listening, and allowing God to reveal what she needs to know. Wisdom allows her to make choices that align with her destiny rather than temporary emotions. Recognize opportunities that are truly from God and avoid distractions. Respond to conflict with grace instead of reacting in anger. Set boundaries that protect her heart and purpose. Lead others with integrity and strength. A favored woman understands that not everything good is God's will and not everything that glitters is gold. She doesn't rush into decisions. She moves with patience, clarity, and trust in God's timing. Discernment, seeing beyond what is visible. Discernment is different from wisdom. It is the ability to sense what is unseen, to read between the lines, to perceive truth even when it is hidden. A woman with discernment is not easily deceived. She can walk into a room and feel when something is off. She can meet a person and sense whether their spirit aligns with hers. She can listen to words, but more importantly, she discerns the heart behind them. Discernment protects her from relationships that are not meant for her, business deals, partnerships, or commitments that could lead to destruction, manipulation, deceit, and people who do not have good intentions, wasting time and energy on things that are not part of her purpose. This is why a woman favored by God is not easily fooled. She can tell when someone is speaking truth versus when they are speaking flattery. She can feel when an opportunity is truly from God or just a test of patience. She knows when to say yes and when to walk away. How wisdom and discernment show up in a favored woman's life. One, she listens before she speaks. She understands that words have power, so she is intentional about how she communicates. Two, she trusts her intuition, that feeling in her spirit, that gut instinct. It's often the Holy Spirit guiding her. Three, she knows when to walk away, whether it's a toxic relationship, a bad business deal, or an environment that drains her spirit. She does not stay where she is not meant to be. Four, she values counsel but seeks God first. She may listen to advice, but her final authority is always God. Five, she can see beyond the surface, whether it's a person's true character or the long-term consequences of a decision. She does not operate in blindness. Final reminder, wisdom and discernment are not just qualities, they are weapons. They protect a woman from making choices that could derail her purpose. They position her for success, favor, and divine connections. They allow her to see through deception and stand firm in truth. A woman favored by God is not led by culture, trends, or emotions. She is led by divine wisdom. And because of that, she moves differently, speaks differently, and rises above what was meant to hold her back. So if you've ever wondered why you see things others don't, why you sense things before they happen, why you feel a pull in certain directions, it's because you're walking in divine wisdom. Keep trusting it. Keep seeking God. Your discernment is one of your greatest gifts. A woman favored by God does not rise alone. She understands that her blessings, her wisdom, and her influence are not just for her. They are meant to uplift, empower, and encourage those around her. True favor is never selfish. It overflows. A favored woman has a heart that wants to see others win. She doesn't compete. She collaborates. She doesn't hoard knowledge or opportunities, she shares. She doesn't diminish the light of others, she helps them shine even brighter. The power of elevating others, God's favor in your life, is not just about personal success, it's about impact. A woman favored by God understands that her purpose is tied to the way she blesses others. She has grace to elevate, meaning she sees potential in others and speaks life into them. She uses her platform